Okay, but right now, as Joe mentioned, we have a lot going on in the kitchen, and David Karn is joining us, who hosts Back 40 Beer Company's Beer Before Breakfast. He's joining us, and of course, you brought a special guest. We would like you to introduce him in just a minute, but of course, you were on Studio 10 back in June.
That's right.
So if anybody missed the show that morning, we'd like you to tell them about Beer Before Breakfast. What is it?
Absolutely. Beer Before Breakfast is a show about using beer as a food ingredient. So basically incorporating it into recipes, substituting it for other liquids, using it as a reduction to really enhance flavors in particular ingredients. It's a show about just thinking of beer in a different way.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to just get off work and drink a beer. You can wake up and have one with your pancakes.
With your eggs.
That's
Put it in the eggs, cook with it.
That's right.
And that brings us to your special guest.
Absolutely. I'm really excited about this because we're taking it to another level here. We have Chef Brandon Burleson with Voyager's Restaurant, Perdido Beach Resort, right down the road in Orange Beach, and he's outdone himself. We got two recipes today. The first is it's a seafood dish. It's a Gulf Rim chowder, and I'm gonna let Brandon get deeper into it in a minute. And then the next one is a beer float with our summer seasonal beer to guard.
Okay.
It's blackberry and black pepper, and it's phenomenal.
Oh, wow. A lot of different flavors kind of merging this morning. So first of all, a lot of ingredients I see here, Brandon.
Yes, ma'am. First, we start off with a little applewood smoked bacon, the Cajun trinity of celery, bell pepper, and a little bit of onion. Also, we have the corn. Then we're going to finish it later on with a garnish of the grilled bread and chives after adding the lemon juice and fresh tomatoes for freshness. I chose to use the marbled fingerlings instead of just traditional Idaho or Yukon potatoes, just for a color.
Yeah.
Brighten it up, summertime.
Adds a little
some fun.
something. Yeah. All right, so where do we start?
First, you need to get the pan hot, not quite to smoking point.
Okay.
Add the bacon. So we'll, if I can get it to come out of here. Nice sizzle. I guess this is the breakfast part.
Yeah.
We can wake everyone up, smell it. The best thing about this recipe is it does take a little bit of time to prep, but if you have downtime on Sunday afternoon or anything, go ahead and prep it all. Leave it in the refrigerator overnight. Next evening, come home late from work. It's what I like to call a little bit of fine dining, but it's easy to prep ahead, and then you can have it a nice dinner fairly quickly. Probably 20 minutes of cook time if you try to rush through it. So after we get the bacon going, as soon as the fat starts to render out, it creates a nice moisture in the pan. We'll add the trinity, a little bit of celery, onions, and bell pepper. Also, for the chowder part of it, we will do the corn.
Okay. Oh, that does smell good.
Now, one thing I want to toss in here, this is a seafood dish, and Brandon has brought in fresh Alabama Gulf seafood. The beer that he's going to be using for this dish is our Fence Post Session Ale, and if you look on the side of all of our beer bottles, we have three little icons here, and they're food pairings. You can see on this one we have pizza, chicken, and then actually Alabama Gulf seafood. It's a partnership that we started with them a few months ago. So any of our beers that have a seafood pairing that pair well with seafood, they now feature the Alabama Gulf seafood logo. So so yeah, so Brandon's doing it right on this one.
Very nice. And this is your newest beer, right?
That's right.
Coast?
That is our newest year-round beer.
Okay.
It's a session ale. It's a lighter beer, lighter body, lower in alcohol content. I call it a lawnmower beer. You could call it a beach beer. It's basically something you could drink in the heat and not get bogged down with too heavy a drink or anything. Still got that craft flavor. And then the other beer, which is going to be for the dessert, it's our summer seasonal. It's a beer to guard. It's a French farmhouse style ale. Back in the day, before they had temperature control, basically the French in northern France, they used to actually brew beer in cooler months and save it for warmer to drink and throughout the year, really, to drink in warmer months. That's why it's a summer seasonal, because they brew it in the winter when they can control the temperature better, and then literally keep it. That's what de garde means, keep the beer until the summer.
Interesting little fun.
And they would also pay their farmers in beer. So we at the Back 40 like anything with the farm thing, and we also like getting paid in beer. So,
okay. Learning some new things today. All right, so Brandon, we'll let you keep cooking over there, and you just adding some things. And in the meantime, make sure you grab this recipe. It's on our website right now, fox10tv.com. It's on the Studio 10 page. Again, Brandon's going to keep cooking. We'll see how things are turning out when we come back in just a few minutes.
We're here with David Karn, who has brought that special guest chef with you this morning. David, who are we talking about over here?
That's right, Joe. We're talking about Brandon Burleson. He is the chef at Voyagers at Perdido Beach Resort in Orange Beach, and he is cooking up an amazing Alabama Gulf seafood dish right now, a Gulf Rim chowder.
You're going to town over there, buddy.
Yeah, trying to a little bit. As he said, it's a Gulf Rim chowder. Since we last left, I've added all the seasonings, the garlic, the Old Bay, a little bit of, I actually already put the clams in as they start to open here. I just poured in the first part of the beer. I did it in 2 stages, 1 whole beer, and then we'll do half of this one here to add a little bit more liquid before it reduces. Best part about it is recipe's only 1.5 beer, so you get to sample the rest of the way you can enjoy as you cook.
A key part of the cooking experience, I'll add.
Yeah, whenever you make a recipe with Back 40 Beer Company, you want to plan it out to only use half of a bottle at some point.
Yeah.
So there's some left over.
Or you could use the whole bottle and just, have a little standby.
Okay. All right, that makes sense as well.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of which, you've got some concoctions
That's
going on right here. What are we talking about?
Well, Brandon's over here. I'm not going to let him have all the fun, so
Right.
I'm creating a little recipe myself. This is just going to be a breakfast beer cocktail that I've come up with
Okay.
using our summer seasonal beer to guard. And this is a maltier, well, I call it pecan pie in a bottle, actually, because it's got a nice little nutty, a little bit of a fruitiness to it, so it's a nice flavorful beer. So we're just going to make a little breakfast cocktail with it here. I got 1 part OJ, 1 part amaretto, and then 4 parts of the beer to guard. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, whatever you want to do.
Very accurate.
Yep. And just, mixes up pretty nice in there. And it's a really nice little fruity, you could use this even as a punch at a party or something like this. But
Fantastic. So good in the morning, good any time of day. Looks like a fantastic summery or all time of year cocktail there. I like it.
that's right.
I'm glad you didn't put the clam juice in there.
No.
Yeah.
That
Solely
probably,
for the chowder.
yeah.
Only for the chowder. All right, so we've got that going on right there. We showed you that. We've got this coming along very nicely, and you're showing us that. What are we looking at over there?
Down on the end here, we put in some fresh Baldwin County blackberries. After that, if you'll hand me the caramel up front,
Absolutely.
please. Thank you. We'll dump in a small amount of caramel, small being an understatement. It's supposed to be a cup to 2 pints of blackberries. I'll go ahead and wipe that off. And then the last ingredient of this very simple recipe is about 12 to 14 ounces of beer de gar. And then that will reduce slowly as you're cooking. Once it gets to the last stages, we'll take it, send it through a blender, strain it out, and it's finished to save for our blackberry and black pepper beer float at the end. Also, one part about the reason we did the Gulf Rim chowder was if you go onto the Alabama Gulf Seafood website, it gives you peak seasons for each month. And the Gulf Rim, the name actually derives from, I looked at the Gulf and as a visual perspective, and right now, August, you have mussels that we're about to add that are in peak season from Texas. Also, the key Alabama part is the shrimp are in peak season.
And those look like some fantastic, fresh Alabama Gulf shrimp right there as well.
And we try to use jumbo shrimp just about anything we do there at Voyagers. And then earlier we had added Florida clams in. So if you just trying to take a picture of it, we kind of hit the whole rim of the Gulf. And so there comes the name
The
of
best
the Gulf Rim.
of every area of the Gulf. That's fantastic. So we've got both of those things going over there. My man is two-fisting with different drinks over here.
That's right.
And we are going to finish this all up in the kitchen when we come back in just a little while. Thanks a lot, fellas.
We are in the kitchen with David Karn from Back 40 Beer Company's Beer Before Breakfast. And David, you have a special guest chef with you.
That's right, Cherish. We have Brandon Burleson. He is the chef at Voyagers Restaurant at Perdido Beach Resort down the road in Orange Beach. We're super stoked to have him with us. He has prepared some delicious dishes for us here, and we're all foodies at Back 40, so we love what Brandon does, and we we bow to the chef world, and just watching him prepare it this morning was just amazing, and it got me so excited. If you want to learn a little bit about what we do making beer, we'll be here next Friday back in Mobile for Science of Beer at the Explorium. Next Friday. Tickets are still on sale. I believe the deadline to purchase tickets is on Wednesday, but you can just look up Science of Beer at the Explorium website. But
Fun.
I have seen the science of cooking and the science of the chef world here this morning. I want to turn it over to Brandon to explain the dishes here, which he's got plated up.
As we've been working over the last hour to do, as I like to call it, approachable fine dining, you can do it at home, have just as good of a quality if you want to take on the endeavor yourself and do it. We finished the Gulf Rum Chowder that's out front here, and now for the fun part.
The dessert.
Yeah, the dessert, always. People kind of look at me funny, but we'll get some fresh local blackberries.
Why do they look at you funny for blackberries?
No, I'm talking about they look at me funny over putting beer with ice cream.
What?
But once I get people to try it, they're a little more, they're a little bit more forgiving.
I think they should look at you funny for not using beer in anything, but that's just my personal opinion.
What we'll do, I don't actually have a bar muddler, but you don't need one. Take the back of a spoon, put a few blackberries in the bottom of the glass, pour the fresh beer de gar over it, kind of muddle it in slightly. Also at this point, we'll take just a small pinch of fresh ground black pepper, kind of mix in with it. Also, we'll take the ice cream. This is homemade, or excuse me, made at the restaurant, but as the recipe says this online, is you can easily just get Bluebell vanilla bean ice cream. Also the same with the whipped cream. We whip it in-house, but also you can just buy Cool Whip if need be.
Okay. Making it easy for us.
Also, earlier I started the reduction with the beer de gar, a little bit of caramel, and blackberries. Afterwards, after you puree it, you'll run it through the blender, come out with a finished sauce that we'll just ladle over the top here.
Wow.
See it as it kind of foams up some. That's from just a tiny bit of carbonation alcohol left in the sauce.
Now, real quick, that what he's talking about, this is a beer reduction. He used the fence post in the Gulf Rum Chowder as a part of the broth. So he did not reduce the beer there. I mean, this is literally taking the beer down to, quite literally, reducing it down. What that does is really enhances whatever flavors there are in the beer. That's why you want to avoid your more bitter, hoppier beers in a reduction, and you want to go with a little bit beer with a little bit more of a malt backbone, lower on the bitterness, and maybe have a little bit of a fruit or nut note to it, you know, which is what the beer de garde is all about. Our beer de garde is all about. So
very interesting. Well, cooking with beer, you have your main course and you have your dessert, and we have both recipes on fox10tv.com on the Studio 10 page. Make sure you check them out. You can make both of these things yourself at home. Thanks so much, gentlemen.
thank you, Cherish.